Hello friends, welcome back to this session of innovations in marketing and marketing of innovations. We have been building a case around distribution and distribution channels, and we have been talking about innovation all through. This session is dedicated to the relationship of distribution or innovation in distribution channels and channel management with marketing mix. That means other elements of marketing mix. Product and price we have discussed. Integrated marketing communication we have yet to discuss, which I will do subsequent to this session. But here we are focusing upon concentricity of distribution, and I have been continuously projecting the concentric value of innovation in all the elements of marketing mix, which we refer to as concentric innovation in marketing. And I have been talking about how concentric innovation in marketing is related to establishing, guiding value chain marketing. Value chain marketing we have talked about all through since the beginning of this course, wherein we have been referring to important work of IMD professors, the text which we have been continuously referring to in due course of time. So, you see, when we talk about concentricity of innovation, and especially with perspective of distribution, let us think in terms of few examples. Let us look at PET, polyethylene triethylamate. You remember this product in terms of plastic bottles, plastic jars. You look into a refrigerator and you would find a plastic bottle there. So, that is what your Coca-Cola bottles, and everywhere you would find this material. Now, you see, the most important element is, if it is in the form of granules, you can transport this material anywhere, and a truckload of this kind of a material would be handy for developing so many bottles and jars, because the plastic molding or this product development is associated with when you use granules to blow up the air, and then the structure would come up. So, it is a very lightweight structure filled with air, but now if you want to transport the product, the space it would occupy is larger, the number of goods are lesser, and in price terms also they are not so high priced. So, transportation cost would be very high. And that is an important thing which comes to our mind, because if somehow you are into manufacturing of these kind of products, which I denounce as an academician and as a person who care for environment, which I denounce, we should get away from these products, and this is the high time we should actually stop manufacturing these products. I am not talking against the manufacturers, but I am talking about the environmental degradation which we have come all through in terms of these kind of products. But I am just referring to an example wherein we require larger space, weight is less, price is less, margins are low, transportation cost becomes very high. So, any of such kind of a product, if similar kinds of characteristics, you have to put a manufacturing setup somewhere near to the buyers. Especially these kind of products, buyers are organizations which fill these kind of products with their material and then sell those kind of products. For example, soft drink manufacturers are there, and so on. If you have to sell these products directly to the consumers, then you have differentiated manufacturing facilities, you have to have those kind of things. You see, that is where the concentricity of distribution comes into play. If you have a heavier product, then the story is slightly different. For example, you have a generator manufactured somewhere in plant, and that has to go to some electricity generation company at a different location. There you have to install that. So, distribution and taking it there, or transportation of that material, and then maintaining it and then generating electricity would be a different kind of a story altogether. But again, that is a very important kind of a lesson which we have to think in terms of when we are transporting these kind of materials, then distribution or taking these materials to the right place to install them requires whole lot of an understanding, which is important for taking these materials to those kind of locations. There are n number of such kind of products which require an understanding of distribution channel management with a concentric approach. But as we talked about two important elements, that is reach and reach in time, when we were talking about distribution channels and distribution channel management, or innovation around distribution channels and innovation around distribution channel management. So, reach and reach in time definitely is associated with market development. Market expansion is slightly restrictive as far as the connotation goes. Market development is at large, and I have talked about it at length when I say that we have to grow the market as such, so that our share within the market can also grow, and I am talking of market growth here. So, market growth and market development, when we are talking of, definitely story may start in terms of reach, because we are expanding our reach through expansion or development or innovation in distribution channel management, which we have talked about earlier as well. This development is, and then you see, we are talking of a concentricity element. So, starting from this is, you may call it concentric perspective, and then you may put up a dot here, and then you start creating circles. That is, someone can talk about concentricity. That is how you can describe concentricity. So, here are circles. For example, you are talking about reach, then market development is the next thing which one must think of. If you have that kind of a channel and channel support and channel management support, you would definitely like to go for large number of targets, and then definitely large number of targets require large number of products to be supported with. When we are talking of market development, definitely we must think in terms of either the same product to be taken to several kinds of targets, or similar kinds of products taken to several kinds of targets, which is more apt basically, because same product to larger number of targets are is there definitely in terms of, for example, pharmaceuticals and those kind of things, but largely when we are talking of consumer products and several other kinds of products, product differentiation calls for. So, here comes in product line, whichever way, you see, same product or differentiated product. So, market development calls for product line development, product line management, wherein we are having either larger number of product variants or one product to be pushed at large for different kinds of targets. And definitely it makes sense when we are talking of targets. So, product line should be talking in terms of, should be taking us towards expanding or developing product width as well. And all these terms you are well aware of, these terms are well known to you. If not, then definitely please refer to some fundamental books in marketing management, and also you may refer to my subject product and brand management, and you would find all these terms aptly described there. Now, when we are talking of product line and product width, definitely it has to be supported by some production capacity, production line development as well. That means manufacturing ability, manufacturing development, and that requires lot of support from as far as other value chain partners, the capital goods supplier, the raw material supplier, several other channel partners come into play, and here I am referring to value chain marketing. You see, if you will talk about newspaper industry, if you are expanding your or developing your market, then you have to focus upon content on the one side, the perspective of customers on the other side, the perspective of advertisers who would get associated with with you from the other side. Then those advertisers are supported by their advertising agencies and creative media. I would be talking about all these things in integrated marketing communication as well. So, you have to consider them also. On the other side, you have to consider newspaper print supplier, this raw material supplier. Then you have to focus upon ink suppliers. Then you have to focus upon people who are manufacturing machinery to print newspapers. And that machinery has to be supported by innovations within their production capacities, and you see how value chain marketing is coming into being. Story has started from distribution, reach and reach in time, and that is, newspapers are one of the most apt examples when we talk about reach and reach in time. So that is an important thing when we realize that, concentricity of focus upon reach, reach in time, then market development is there here, and then product line and product width is here, then production perspective is here, and then for supporting production perspective, again you may go for another circle, and if you do not want to take it as the same circle, then you have to take another value chain circles here somewhere, capital goods supplier, the raw material supplier, then other circle would come, and this story would become interesting and more interesting in due course of time. If you will look at the story of Federal Express and these kind of organizations who are distribution based companies, you would realize that Federal Express, they call that it is non-passenger based largest airlines in the world. That is how it is being described, and they have huge fleet of aeroplanes, and then road vehicles, and several kinds of methodologies and AI support and go down support and what not to support this whole system. And if we are talking of such kind of things, for example, aeroplanes and fleet and road based vehicles and X and Y and Z, you would realize that they are associated with different kinds of partners through and through value chain. This is what we are referring to as concentric innovation in association with value chain marketing. And then when we go for production innovation, then definitely there is an association of price with that. We have talked about it at length just preceding to this segment, so I would not go deeper into this, but remember, price differentiation, price justification, price innovation has to accompany whatever we are going for. Either we pass on the benefits of larger manufacturing capacity to the customers, or we somehow look into different kinds of elements in association with. Somehow we have to synchronize everything, and you see that is an important thing. When we are talking of concentricity, and I am drawing your attention once again towards this concentric element of distribution, when we are talking of concentricity, the synchronization of all these elements through and through in different circles which we are drawing around that concentric element which we have chosen for is the most important thing. So that synchronization has to be developed, and once we are going for pricing justification in due course of time, here lots of marketing ability, for example sales innovation, how innovatively you would be able to sell your products. How would you enhance the reach of the products? By selling directly to the customers or through channels, whichever way, and we have talked about this sales promotion through sales. So, Eureka Forbes example we have talked about, and several other examples we have talked about in our preceding sections. So, direct marketing and sales team based kind of things, sales ability. Once you are talking of sales ability and we are talking of capital goods and those kind of things, you are talking of different sets of human resource. How many sales management courses are being run around this world? N number of them. Why? Because this is required. If you have to have sales innovation for supporting all these things which we are discussing all around, then you have to have those courses, those syllabi, those kind of structures there, those kind of people who would train such kind of people, and so on. So, that kind of a synchronization and integration is there. Again, either it is a different set of circles, or you can have another circle associated with the concentricity of, at this moment we are talking of distribution. So, then when we are talking in terms of HR and those kind of things, we are also referring to investment perspective. We are investing in capital goods, we are investing in channels, we are investing in production, we are investing in different kinds of things, we are investing in developing the human resource as such, also we are investing in the training of those people, and most of all When we are doing all of this, we are actually focusing upon investing in or spending on the communication associated with developing that market. I am not specifically and deliberately touching upon communication part at this moment, because I would be coming to that in my next section. But remember, communication is an intense part of whatever is being done through the development of market, and as well as channel development and channel management, especially with respect to the innovation which we are foreseeing in this. So, once we are focusing upon that communication all through, and we are focusing upon investments as well, we are actually focusing upon developing the branding. For this, you can extensively learn about what branding implies in my product and brand management course. There I have talked about all the details associated with this, but here the factor is that larger the reach, larger is the possibility of brand to get established in due course of time. It's a very important kind of a thing which we must remember, whichever products are more visible, whichever products are distributed well, they have larger brand value, and they go on to develop brand equity in due course of time. Google, as you open, Google comes in front of you. That is what I am talking about. You go anywhere, you look at something red, something kept in red color outside a general shop or general merchant shop, our brain says that it is Coca-Cola. Something blue, Pepsi, and so on. You see, that is what I am talking about, the visibility, the reach. Vehicles, airlines, they have larger visibilities, and that is where, and that is why automotive industry is one of the most talked about industries in the whole of the world, and brand recognition in terms of automotives is very, very high. So, that is where investments and communication and brand comes into play along with each other. When you have larger brand value, and this is one of the most important things, larger brand value takes us towards larger shareholders value and so on, which brand justifies. So, when you are there at that stage, you may go for initial public offers, IPOs, and those IPOs would bring in larger funding, contribution of people towards, they would buy your shares, and then you have further investment value, and then you have further production value, and then you have further distribution value as such also. So, that can lead you to that kind of a stage, and which most of the companies they do. That is what their intent at the end of the moment, that we should be swarming and going all over this world with our products. How well distribution is important, we may think in terms of few more examples before I summarize the whole story. For example, when Jamshedji Tata started trading in cotton, and and that is one more part which is associated with this kind of a story, wherein policy also is associated with as far as distribution perspective goes. So, when he took cotton to England to trade in cotton, the cotton which was being supplied from America, it started getting resupplied, because somehow the supply, because of war and those kind of things, and political situations got stopped, and that is where the competition once again came in, and American cotton was being traded, and English mills, they started purchasing American cotton, which actually incurred some losses on part of Mr. Tata. So, you see, that is where distribution, reach in time, and those kind of things, they come into play. There are some other examples which are very, very important. For example, antivirus was supplied earlier in form of CDs, and then we had to upload that CD and upload the program, and somehow for upgrading that, every time we have to add some new feature from another CD. Today everything is online, and that is where the distribution strength comes in terms of antivirus goes. Antivirus industry has grown too big, not only because viruses are growing in number, but again antivirus industry has grown big in terms of how things have grown in terms of as far as the supplies through internet or real time monitoring situation goes. So, that is where Tata's manufacture steel, and that steel is being utilized by different kinds of industries. Look at the concentricity of distribution of steel amongst different kinds of industries and different kinds of chains, and you would immediately know what I am talking about. Computer industry, how computer industry developed, distribution of software is one part, but that distribution of software led to the human resource development related to that software. Have you heard of Microsoft certified programmers? Exactly. So that is what, that justifies the argument which we are trying to build up here in terms of, and there are several kinds of examples which we may choose to refer to at this particular moment. There is an example which is more apt at this moment. A company UP Tech, they come into software development first, and then they realize that they have to have human resource to develop that software at large number of people were required. Then they started training the human resource, then those courses were sold more as compared to the requirement they had, and then they started placing people in different kinds of industries, and the whole chain began, and they became software exporters, and they became a training institute as well. This is what we are talking about. If you will look into different kinds of examples, you would realize that at the end of the day, the concentric element or the relationship of concentric innovation in marketing with value chain marketing is very evident if we focus upon such kind of stories. And I have some more elements to talk about before I conclude here. You see, the pricing of a product is influenced by marketing channel as to whether the company distributes it through high quality specialty stores, national discount chains, or sells directly to consumers online. That is again an important thing, and we have referred to this when we were talking about pricing element. Company's sales, promotion and marketing decisions will vary depending upon its channel partners, of course. Even the launch of new products in the market will be influenced by the capabilities of the channel members. So that is what we are referring to, and Patanjali is a very big example. Patanjali started their story from, and I was demonstrating this concentricity of innovation by Patanjali to someone, and I remember that it started its journey from yoga, and then Ayurveda, similar kind of people getting associated for yoga, through yoga, then with Ayurveda. Then the suppliers, they started coming on board. Those suppliers, they became buyers and the beneficiaries as well, and it's a two-way relationship which they started getting through. Then they started training their human resource. So many Ayurveda specialists were being trained. Then they opened up a medical college as well. Then they went for a whole lot of an integrated system wherein everything came into being. Patanjali is a very big story. We can talk about Patanjali's journey, and we can definitely get to learn that at the end of the day, Patanjali is one of the most apt examples of concentric innovation. And if we will look at it at this with the perspective of distribution channels, so Patanjali distributed, enhanced its reach and procurement both ways to every corner of this country, and integrating all the people through this process, and then developing the whole story and traversing into HR as well as production capacity, production capability, and their suppliers of capital goods also came into being, wherein they created best of the most sophisticated technological development for Patanjali and enhancing the Patanjali's capacity. And then they went for their own R&D in biotechnology as well, and several other kinds of areas as well, and they developed their own human resource and doctors, and then the retailers, then retailers were associated with their human resource as well, and so on. And it became completely integrated in due course of time, starting from the reach of yoga to reach of all the products they have, and reaching to the levels of IPO. They released an IPO recently which was sold at a very interestingly good reception. So, and then Decathlon, as we have talked about, and I have mentioned about Decathlon earlier as well, wherein Decathlon also talks about turnaround of 10 billion sales, basically 1000 plus stores and so on. And once you enter into Decathlon stores, you would realize that every marketing element in due course of time, in terms of their products, the placement of the products, the customers they are serving, the kind of usage they are developing in relation to their customers, everything is integrated and everything is sort of distribution and procurement based. Distribution for their suppliers, distribution for Decathlon. And you see, that is a very interesting thing which we must remember at this stage basically. All the companies, more or less all the companies today, they are resorting to a two-way or multiple levels of relationships within their value chains, and that is why this value chain marketing is a very important thing which we are talking of. Earlier there was a linear relationship, or a line based relationship between the supply chain partners and the buyers and the consumers, but today it is a two-way or multi-way or multi-level relationship, if you may like to call that. And these kind of examples like Decathlon and Patanjali, and especially Patanjali is and ITC also, these are very important examples for us to remember, wherein your supplier also becomes your buyer. They get associated with you for different kinds of benefits they would get in due course of time, and then they have their suppliers which also are your buyers. So, you see, someone here is related to you as a supplier, he becomes or she becomes your buyer, they have their suppliers, they are directly connected to as this organization as consumers, and somehow this becomes a tripartite relationship, and this travels from this side to that side as well. Different kinds of exchanges between such kind of organizations and their value chain. That is why this, if you will try and draw a value chain from this point to this point, so you have multiple directions in due course of time, and if you keep on associating value chain partners on a single line or multiple lines, you create sort of to differentiate the complete value chain. For example, there is one supplier and they have a different kind of value chain. For differentiating that, you draw one more line parallel to this, you would realize that this line also is connected to this line somehow, sort of. Not to get confused at this stage, just think in terms of, for example, choose one product, let us say from Patanjali, and then try and think in terms of who would have supplied the raw material. Are they somehow linked to Patanjali as beneficiaries as well? Who would have supplied raw material to them for processing that semi-finished product? That semi-finished product comes to this place, gets finished. Who is the final beneficiary? How this network has been created in due course of time, and you would realize that today calling a value chain is just a notional thing. You may call it a value network at the end of the day. So, here I would sum up while saying that concentric innovation in marketing, let us say we are talking of distribution at this stage, it actually guides or is responsible for value chain or value, if you want to say value chain marketing, that is fine, that is conventionally being used at this moment and authors refer to it that way. But if you want to add a discussion point to it, or you may want it to be seen with a larger perspective, you may say concentric innovation in marketing guides or is responsible for value networks, value network based marketing or value network marketing. I am leaving you with this thought so that you may draw a relationship between concentric innovation in marketing, especially distribution, with value networks which you may develop when you will start putting dots on a piece of paper, imagining a product of your choice. I would be catching up with you later on with lots of discussion on innovations in integrated marketing communications. Till then, goodbye.